Proven Not Perfect. We have a treat today because I'm here with Sydney Stinson. Ferguson. Do we say Ferguson still? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hyphen
yeah.
Ferguson. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we got to get it right. We got to get it right. We got to honor all the people in the life, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Girl. So honestly, if they could just know the way that we fellowship before I press record, because it takes me back to the first time that I saw you in a room of businesswomen and you simply stood out. You simply
Oh.
stood out. And the reason that I want to start there is because I would unpack a little bit more that it wasn't just necessarily your style, the visible style that you would see with the external effects of clearly the way you put the outfit together is with intention, right? I later learned that that was because it was your job, but it was also your gift, right? But then it's also the essence, the way you intentionally move and stay and pause and shift. It really, really was a blessing and it poured into me. And I'm in this season where I'm appreciating that pivots are real and understanding how to navigate pivots in our life is a real skill and lesson. And as we think about passing down conversations of impact to others or passing them sideways or passing them up, you don't know who's listening, right? Everybody, no matter
Right,
how cool
right.
for school you think you are, you're going to hit a pivot, right? And so I just want to start with asking, what was the first major pivot in your career where you realize I am not becoming someone else. I'm becoming fully myself.
Well, I had 2 pivots, but I think the one that really at the core is something that has brought me to where I am is, can't remember what year it was, but, a woman who I worked with, previously at Kmart reached out to me and she said, "Hey, I'm getting a promotion to the CMO of Kmart Apparel. Do you wanna come and replace me?"
Wow.
And take my position and work for me. And I was like, well, Diane, I was just like, I don't know, I don't know fashion because she has
Mm,
a very, very deep fashion background. She worked for Calvin Klein and Donna Karen and went to
mm,
school for that. And I was really ambivalent. And she said, "You don't know fashion. I know fashion." She
mm.
said, "You are fashion." And she said,
Wow.
"I need someone to come in and lead the team and to navigate them through like all of this complex organization because Sears Kmart was a very, very
Yeah.
complex organization." And so I was like, wow, like somebody who really believes in me in that way. And I have always, since I was born, have had a passion for fashion. And so for her to believe in me like that, I was like, wow. And I
Wow.
think that that was really when I came into like, this is where I was supposed to be many years ago. I had turned down jobs before in the fashion industry
Wow.
for multiple reasons and I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And she is still a very close friend. She was kind. She taught me a lot. We were very complimentary to each other's skills. And it was really, truly a evolution into me
Mm,
really getting to where I am right now. Without her believing in me, and us having a personal relationship because
yeah.
relationships are critically important. I don't know that I would be where I am right now. So it really is for her.
You know what? You say something in that story, which I think is really interesting. And I think a lot of us overlook when we talk about pivots. The conversation right now, the artificial conversation on pivots, is very much like, okay, I'm going to herky jerk, turn left, right? Like you are in the driver's seat. I have a very different experience with pivots in my life, and it's very similar to what you said. And the word that I'm going to bring forward that I heard in your story and the way that I appreciate pivots, the pivots we're supposed to take, is flow. When you are in pivot, you are in flow, not because you pushed your way there, but because you were easily moved there. And that's exactly what comes across in that story. So to me, it means that you have to be centered and grounded in who you are so that you can take the tap and you can go with the flow. Does that resonate for you at all?
No, it absolutely does because there were many reasons why, in my mind, as I was looking at the pros and cons, there were a lot of cons.
Yes.
Kmart, I had been at Kmart previously, so this was my second tour of duty, as I like to say, at Kmart. There was a lot going on there. And there were a lot of things that I knew that I was going to have to come back to, which were things that maybe were not the most, wonderful things.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of cons,
Mm,
but I really had to, and I love the way that you're using that term
mm,
flow.
yeah.
I really just had to go with the flow.
Hmm.
And it was Diane gave me that reassurance to know that I was landing in a soft place,
Mm,
which was great. But I also knew that there were going to be challenges.
mm,
But it was definitely, I like to say that I listened to the universe,
yeah.
because many people could have said, like, what the heck are you doing, why are you going backwards?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, you do have to take a step backwards to move forward. And it wasn't that I was taking a lower level position. But some people say, once you've been someplace, just leave it alone.
Mm. That's
And it
not
just,
always the case.
yeah, it's
I mean,
not.
because I think, and you and I think we talked about this at one of our dinners at Baylene's or whatever, but I believe we talked about this. But there's times when you have to get the lesson, right? Because I think that you and I both experienced, let's say, a tumultuous boardroom
Yeah,
experience here in
yeah.
South Florida. We'll leave the innocent innocent, but we both did. And, but we both, I remember, unpacked it not from a place of um, negativity or frustration. I recall the conversation. Of course, I don't remember all the details, but I remember the conversation being very much rooted in lessons and test. And knowing that when you are brought to a place easily in flow, there's an intention for you to be there. And there are two options you have when it gets real stirred up and crazy. You can run, or you can ride it through, learn the lessons, and know with flow when it's time to go. Do you remember this experience at all?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I grew up believing, well, I'll say this. I grew up in a church that taught that everything happens for a reason,
Yeah.
and, find positivity in everything. And that is more easily said than done.
Amen. Since we talking about church.
Right. It's more easily said than done. But I do truly believe that every step of my journey
Mhm.
was intentional from the universe,
Yeah.
because there's a lesson in every single thing, every single
Mm,
moment of life. It is what we do with those lessons, or if we
yeah.
listen to those lessons,
Mm,
that is really the meaning. And sometimes you don't see the lesson until you're far gone.
yeah.
And I'm sure sometimes you may never see the lesson. But when I look at my career, every single step that was taken was because it was supposed to be taken. And it's like, look, I am not going to act like it's been easy. But I do believe that we are placed where we are supposed to be, and it is our duty and responsibility to try to listen, because it's a lot of times we hear, but we don't act on that.
Mm.
And, I think when you don't act, it's okay too, because I
Mm.
think that that is a lesson that you learn from.
Oof, that part. So you have to stay grounded and centered. And so now I want to take us to the corporate elements and kind of layering in what pivots look like going through, brand decisions, fashion decisions. I mean, I can't think of a space where there's so much change in such a short moment, and staying on top of that and being a leader of that, designing the vision and the strategy there, you are actually placing the energy that sometimes causes those pivots and shifts. Talk a little bit about, corporately, what some of your takeaways and lessons were in driving and leading transformation, change, and quite frankly, pivots for some of the brands that you worked for.
It's kind of interesting. So, and this is kind of probably a non answer.
Love it.
But the one thing that was very grounding for me my entire career is that I am at the core, a people person.
Yes, you are.
Um and it was really a struggle to figure out how I maintained being a kind person and also being a leader.
Oh,
And so there were many times in my career where I had to, really think about and figure out what that looked like. And I read a book by Terry Williams. I don't know if you remember Terry Williams. She was like she is a PR guru.
yes.
She
She's the
wrote.
sister with the tight fade.
Yes,
Oh my God,
yes,
I have that
yes.
book.
And I read her book, and it was pivotal for me
Mm,
because she really talked about being who you are and
yes.
being kind and leaning into that. And it was funny, I read her book and then I actually reached out to her like randomly.
Mm,
And we met. I was living in upstate New York and she's like, "Hey, I'm really busy, but I'm going to be at this conference and you can follow me around this conference and we can talk in between
I
that."
love that.
And we stayed in contact, and I'm really sorry that I actually fell out of contact with her. I need to get back in touch with her because I was
We're
looking at
gonna
it.
send her the podcast and say,
Yeah,
Terry, you got two fans.
yeah, I was looking at some pictures of her. I had a 31st birthday party and she came to my birthday party. But in any event,
Wow.
she really changed the way I thought about how I show up.
Wow.
And it really, not that I immediately was just like, okay, you can just be yourself and flow into that, but it really, really made me pause and think about, like, yes, you can be that kind, nice person that you are and still be
Yes.
a leader. And
Mm.
so I really think about her all the time, and I thought about her from that point, which was probably 1996.
It had to be 96 to
Yeah,
98 because I
yeah,
read the book and it impacted me just the same.
yep, yep. So it was probably then, and I still carry that with me to this day,
Mm.
and when I sometimes second guess myself, I reflect back on that and try to pull that back in, and probably should be reading that book again. And
Mm.
it probably requires a refresh on multiple moments, but so I say all of that to say, for me, pivoting has been around how do I pivot my leadership skill to be
Oh,
impactful, but to be true to who I am, which is to lead with kindness. And
wow.
so that is who I am in my personal life and in my professional life, is I lead with kindness. And so I feel like I have gotten to that place. Not that I have perfected it, but in leadership positions of major organizations where I was able to bring that in as my quote unquote superpower. And
Yes.
so I have people who have worked for me who I still have very close relationships with because I led with that. And being cognizant of who they are as people is always my number one priority. I
Mm,
believe that you can teach skills, but you cannot teach being kind.
amen.
And so I don't want to say you can't teach being kind, but you can lead with kindness and hope that people will
Yeah.
follow that.
Well,
Yeah.
people see it. People see how we show up and they judge, right? For the good and the bad of that, the impact that how we showed up had on them. And if you're swinging with goodness, I cannot see a situation where it doesn't impact people to consider the approach that they have. You know what I mean? So I love that. And I think it gets back to being grounded and centered in who you are,
Yeah.
and allowing that to sort of flow through so many things. Okay, we now got to talk about your style, sis, because when we talk about closets, seriously, like one thing that I will say has been an absolute constant, and that is the boldness that you have always been comfortable bringing forward and the vibrancy. And that means something because your career started in the city, as my career started in the city. And the city taught me that we all wear the wonderful color of black. Is it black? Is it black? Or is it black? Oh, it might be dark brown, but looking black. And the fact that you emerged from the city and, still brought this boldness and this vibrancy, I want to know where'd that come from? Like personally for you, first, do you see it? Right. And secondly, do you realize I think it's your superpower because no matter what room you walk in, there is an acknowledgement of your presence. That's the first thing. And then with that acknowledgement comes one of two things. Either she's going to be the nicest person or she's going to be the bad, not meaning good, right? And you bring the sweetness with it, right? And so I don't know, this sounds so surreal, but it opens the door for you. Does that resonate? Tell me about that decision,
Yeah,
girl.
yeah, it totally does. So I'll tell you a quick story. So, and I don't even know if you know this. I don't know if we ever talked about this, but I actually started off as a private banker in
Yeah.
Chicago
Mhm.
in one of the most conservative places, banks that you could ever
I did
be
not
in.
know this.
And I chartreuse has been my favorite color since I was 4 years old. And
Mm.
I was a private banker to high net worth attorneys in Chicago at a bank that is super, super conservative. And I started off wearing the little men's suits with the little ties and all of that. And for whatever reason, one day I decided that I had arrived, don't know why, because I was still
'Cause
20
you
something
had.
years I was 20 something years old, and I wore a chartreuse mini skirt suit to work at this bank.
Wow.
And long story short, my boss, who was wonderful, I went and asked him, I said, "Do you want me to go home? Because I'm not feeling comfortable." He said, "No, no, no, you can stay. It's fine." And then the next day he came back and he was like, "Don't ever wear that again." And I was just like, "Understood, got
Mm.
it." But that's when I knew that
Wow.
banking was not for me because there
Mm.
was this person inside
Oh my
who
god.
was screaming to get out with vibrant color.
Oh my god.
Um
There
and
is so much packed. Okay, whoever's listening to this, honestly, there are those moments in Proving Not Perfect where I just have to be like pounding the table. There is so much packed in that. When you realized that to fit in that space required you to not be your truest, highest integrity self, you knew the space wasn't for you. Oh my God. Okay, sorry.
so then fast forward to, that's just who I was, and I went literally from that into the liquor industry, like, with
Now I
no
remember that.
with no experience in I mean, it was divine order that put me there, and that's when I started to be able to feel, more like myself. But to go back to your question, what I have found is yes, color is my superpower. It really
Yeah.
is. And the reason it's my superpower, one of my superpowers is so believe it or not, and I don't know if we ever talked about this, but I am actually an introvert disguised as an extrovert.
Yeah.
I am very shy. I find socializing sometimes I feel socially awkward even though I push
Mm.
through it. And so what color has done for me is a couple of things. Well, actually three things I'll say. One is that it opens up conversation that
Mm.
probably would not happen if I am in black.
Mm.
It is definitely a conversation starter. And so it makes it easier for me when I am in social settings to have conversation with people.
Wow.
Especially if I'm going to someplace by myself, which I do a lot. It opens up a conversation. So that is one of the things that it does. The
Mhm.
other thing that it does is it's kind of a shield for me. It is a
Wow.
protector. So when I am scared, nervous, going into situations that I know that I am going to be on the spot, going into tough situations, that color becomes my shield, my superpower,
Wow.
and gives me the energy to get through whatever that moment is.
Wow.
It really, really gives me confidence. And I believe that if people try color, it will give them confidence also
Mm.
because it's beautiful, it's bright, it's vibrant. And for
Mm.
me, it speaks to the piece that I am on the inside that maybe does not come out,
Mm.
my style and my clothes speak that. And it was actually my clothing and style and color was my protector my entire life because I
Wow.
was bullied as a child.
Wow.
And so that became my best friend. And
Mm.
so my love for style and color has been with me as long as
I
I
love
can
that.
remember because it was always my protector.
Mm.
And the third thing I will say, people stop me on the street all the time and they're just like, "Oh my God, that is like the best color. I would never think of wearing that, but you make me happy just looking at you."
I love
And
that.
I never realized that it makes other people happy too. So
Mhm.
then I become happy because it makes them happy. And there are people who have stopped me who my guess is that there is like nothing, and when I say nothing, nothing that we have in common, like at all.
Mm.
But
Wow.
the color or the style stops people and it bridges a gap
Wow.
that I am sure would never ever be there. And so I find that it's really it is literally my protector.
Oh
And
my
so in
gosh.
so many senses. And so it is something that I encourage people to really do is, so many people say, "Oh, I could never wear that." And I'm just like, "Try it." Because
Yeah.
inevitably when anybody wears color, somebody is going to say, "Oh my God, you look beautiful." And who doesn't want to, even though you may feel beautiful, you love to have that
Yeah.
reassurance from
Yeah.
somebody else, especially somebody who you don't know who doesn't have to
They
say
don't have to
anything
say
to you.
anything.
Right. And so that is kind of, I don't know if I answered the
No,
question
this
for
is
you,
excellent. Look,
but
girl, you took us all to school because I mean, honestly, you first of all, thank you for such the vulnerable share around, the bullying factor and the role that color kind of played early on, but I also think you're pushing all of us to lean into the things that make us feel good and not standing out just because we want to stand out.
yep,
'Cause I didn't hear you say that. I heard you say it made you feel good.
yep,
And I think again it taps into when you feel good, your essence is vibrant and people can't
absolutely.
deny it. They want to know more. It's infectious and color is that for you. I would say to the people that are listening, what is it for you? Right? Like when you get still and quiet and you think about your own vulnerabilities and you think about that time when you felt your most powerful self. Think of that time. Bring that time to your mind. What did you represent at that time, right? When you were your most powerful self.
Yep,
That is your own superpower. Then you tap into this energy that Sydney's talking about and that I hope to do as only as a third as good as she does, right? Seriously, that's when you tap into that. Okay, so I have to have you answer this for the women. What would you say to the woman who feels like she has outgrown the image, title, or identity that once made her successful? Kind of speaking of a pivot, right? It's almost, what would you
yeah.
say to her?
So the thing that resonates with me the most is Shaka Khan's song, "Do You Love What You Feel?"
Mm,
And that
hearing it in
is
my mind. Mm,
and so it goes back to what we were just talking about. And you and I were talking about this earlier.
yeah.
You earn a certain place at a certain point in time
Amen.
where, you know what, you are at X, Y, and Z level, and I'm gonna wear my hair the way I want to,
Yes.
and I'm gonna wear bright colors, and I'm gonna
Yes.
wear I mean, I've worn a sequin skirt to work.
Love that.
Um, I wear what I feel. I wear what
Mm,
makes me feel good, what makes me feel
mm,
happy, and sometimes that's black, and
yes.
sometimes it's white.
Mhm.
Most of the time it's chartreuse, but I love color. It makes me feel confident.
Mm,
It makes me feel happy. It reminds me of who I am because the reality is a lot of times you may not be able to do all of the things that you want to in whatever environment that you are in. You may
yeah.
not be able to change all of the things that you want to change. But as long as I feel good, it gives me that confidence to try some of the things that I may not try. Or when somebody says no, I can still tap into you feel good
Yeah.
or walk into that bathroom and see that bright color and make you feel good. And so
Hmm.
that's what I really say to people, like you talked about it. We all wore the black. I mean, I was wearing the little suits that looked like men. I was a banker, and my very, very first boss in the bank pulled me aside one day because I used to wear my hair just air dried and,
Mhm.
pulled back, but, it's relatively conservative. And she suggested that I might want to
Tame those ladies up
Tame
there.
my hair, and or cut my hair.
Oh,
So we've all been through those places. I did not cut. Look, I don't care about cutting my hair. I have been almost bald before.
yes.
So it's not that I care anything about my hair in that way, but it was more so about somebody telling me
Telling
that
you.
I
Yeah.
needed to do that.
Yeah.
So, I did hear what she said, and then I started wearing my hair slicked back or more, so we've all had to be in those places where
Yes.
you can't just show up how you feel immediately, but as we are evolving, and it
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily make a difference what the title is or what or where you are or how much you're making. But when you've been working for a certain amount of time, regardless of what that role is,
Yeah.
you've earned it. So you
Yeah.
could be in a manager or assistant manager position, but you've been working long enough and you feel like, hey, I've earned this and I want to wear what I want to wear, or wear my hair the way I want to wear, or wear a pink tutu into work.
Yes.
You've earned it at that point. And,
Yeah.
you know, people will value you from your years of experience, what
That's right.
regardless of what your title is.
That's
You've
right.
earned it. And so that's what I tell people is, stop worrying about, and I have a client that I'm working with who I mean, this woman has done everything. I mean, there's probably many people who aspire to be in the great roles that she's been in, and I am styling her and her styling coach now. And I said to her, "Girl, you have been in the best of boardrooms." I
Yes.
said, "Really, how much higher can you go at
Mm,
this point? And do you
that
want
part.
to go higher?"
That part.
And, you know,
What's
it's
the cost? Can we
right,
go there? I mean,
right.
there gets to a point where you start to realize you've been there, done that, and do you want to keep doing it? And what at what cost?
Right. And she has transformed, we're transforming her look. And I absolutely love every single minute of her transformation because I
Mm.
get texts from her and she's just like, "You did it again." I walked into the room and she said, "I've not gotten this many compliments since my wedding."
Oh,
And, you know, and
wow.
and imagine how that makes you
Oh.
feel when you are, getting so many people telling you how wonderful you look and how beautiful
Mm.
you look. And it's not that we're narcissists and
No.
we want that, but everybody wants to
Everyone wants to
yeah.
feel good, and if somebody
Yeah.
says they don't, I don't believe you.
Yeah,
Don't come around
absolutely.
me because 'cause you're not a truth teller.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't come around me. All right, I have to ask you this. At this stage of your life and work, what does proven not perfect mean to you personally?
I think this is a perfect follow-up question to what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
I think that at this stage in our lives, again, regardless of what role or how much you're making, you have proven that you've been persevered through the years.
That's right on.
And you may not be perfect, and that is okay.
That's right on.
But you have endured, you've persevered, you're here, which
Mm,
is what
mhm.
a lot of people, sadly, we see a lot of people that are no longer with us anymore.
Yeah.
We are here. And so just
Mm.
that in and of itself gives you the credibility to do
Come on
what
now.
you want to do
Yeah.
in an authentic way. It's about that authenticity, and you've earned it. And look, it may not be perfect to anybody, it may be perfect to you. And that
Yeah.
is and that is okay. Or you may say, "I don't want to be perfect. I
Hmm.
like I like the flaws. That is
Yeah.
what gives me the
Come
character
on here.
that I have." And so it's about just your history and the
Yeah.
fact that you are still here that gives you the right
Mm.
to do, and also gives other people the comfort in knowing that this is somebody who has earned their place,
Yeah.
and somebody who I can trust and who
Yeah.
I can rely upon because they're here.
Yeah.
And that is one of the most important things, is the authenticity and the credibility that comes with being alive and still being here and in the game,
Amen.
whatever that game is.
Mm.
So, I think it's the perfect type of question, and something that all of us need to ask ourselves. And I think we should not put the pressure on
Mm.
ourselves to be perfect for other people.
Woo! Talk about it. It's about you. It's about you.
It's about what is important to you, and
Yeah.
we could have a whole nother conversation about, like,
Yes.
I spent up to 35 years of my life trying to please other people until
Yes.
I realized that, oh my God, girl, you are making yourself unhappy.
Amen. That
And
part.
so
Why
it
is
is.
it that we get to, let's call it middle age, before we finally get that point, right? Because at the end of the day, it is absolutely you are your best self when you are served first. I go back to the whole speech in the plane, right?
Oh my God, I tell people that all the time.
Let the air thing, you got to put it on you first before you can put it on anybody else. Why is it it's taken till middle life for that to sink in? And I actually think I started unpacking an answer here, and I'm curious about your thoughts. When I grew up, I can say that grades were such an important part of my growing and becoming in my home. You know, there was pride with saying that I was an A student. There was a pride with saying that I was an honor this. There was a pride that went about that. Because there was such an emphasis on education and grades, I think it put me in a place where initially going into my career, I was on this basis of how do I get the A? How do I get applauded? How do I get the honor roll, the honor society, the blah, 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 right? And I think that that's one of the things, if I could even go back with my own kids and de-emphasize a little bit, I think I would. I know somebody's listening to me, maybe my mama, and she's like, that's a problem that you just said that to the world. But I'm going to tell you, I truly believe that parents, if you would give it a thought, there is a difference between encouraging your child to be their best selves and holding them to a standard that says you must get the top grade and be seen as in the best group, right? Like there's a difference. Now, how might I have done that? I don't know. But I think for me, it starts there. It started there.
Yeah, I will tell you mine so, my mom was an educator,
Mine too.
but my pressure did not really come from her.
Wow.
My pressure really came from within, and it was really the whole bullying thing. I had this
Mm.
actually bullying I was bullied because I was smart, so the majority
Mm.
of my, my school life was until I got to high school, actually, which is typically the hardest time. I was trying to downplay how smart I was. And so it
Mm.
was this very interesting juxtaposition of a lot of things that I dummied down myself.
Ooh.
My entire I was still getting good grades, but like don't teacher dare say that we had a A, B, C, D, E. No, we had a E, G system. E was like the best. Teacher, don't dare say that Sydney got an E on
Mhm.
anything. Like
Mm.
I never wanted to be recognized in school as somebody that was smart because that brought with it a whole nother set of challenges.
Wow.
So it wasn't until I got to high school that I felt comfortable.
Well, because there's a
um,
place for smart people in high school. There
yeah,
are the honors classes. There's AP,
yeah,
and it's okay to be a nerd in your own group.
yeah, yeah. So I was actually at Spelman. I was a nerd. I was a popular
Mm.
nerd, but I was a
Yes,
nerd.
I love that.
But my pressure really came internally, and it's kind of a joke with my family, of the pressure that I put upon myself,
Yeah,
for
okay.
that. So
You're
yeah,
keeping it 100, and I have to be honest. You really held up a mirror because to be honest with you, it wasn't my mom, it was me. It was me. It was me.
yeah,
She'll appreciate you unpacking that. Thanks. I'll send you the bill. It was always me. Mhm. Mhm. It's so true. It's so true.
yeah,
Well, my
yeah.
dear friend, you are amazing. And I believe that somebody was touched today to think a little bit differently about how they see themselves, how they're showing up, what they need to unpack and what they need to pull forward. So thank you for being in the Proving Not
Oh,
Perfect
thank you for
village.
having me. I really
Now
appreciate it.
this is a long
Oh,
time
yes,
coming,
yes,
but it's
yes.
right on time. That's what
It
I
totally
know.
is because we've been trying to do this like
I know.
forever.
I
And so
know.
this
But
is
it's
the
right on
perfect
time.
time. It's the perfect time.
It's the
Yeah.
perfect time. It's the
Yeah.
perfect time. I love you so much, and I
I love
thank you
you
so much.
too.
Mhm.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
We'll see
Take
you
care.
soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.